Good afternoon. And a warm welcome to the Annisquam Village Church. My name is Reverend Sue, and it is wonderful to have all of you here with us this afternoon. I recognize many familiar faces, meeting some new friends, and this is a great joy for us. Those of you who have been around for the last few years may know that the Annisquam Village Church and the temple have had a really beautiful relationship. Some years ago, 2020, the class on anti-Semitism was something that we did together. And last year, we were invited by the rabbi to do some scripture study, which we enjoyed and appreciated very much. So anytime our two communities get together, it's a gift. About a year and a half ago, one of the members of our congregation, Dr. Rob Russell, approached me and he said, "I'm part of this wonderful organization called Sept. And I'm wondering if you might consider having the directors come for a presentation." And at that time, I looked at the materials and I thought, well, this seems like a good thing for us to do. So Dr. Russell and Ed Howe from the temple made plans, and we had it in the calendar for last November. But of course, the terrible tragedy of October 7th happened, and we postponed, not knowing when we might be able to do this, if at all. The good news is that we're here, and the even better news that you're going to learn about this afternoon is how the STEP program has been able to continue to support this pathway to peace with Israeli and Palestinian scientists. So often we open up the news and feel distraught and helpless over what's happening. It seems that there's nothing that we can do to make a difference. And when I had the great opportunity of meeting Dr. Taylor and Kim Kronenberg, the directors of STEP, it was the first time I can say that I ever felt hopeful about what could happen. So we are here in a spirit of solidarity. We are here in a spirit of hope and of possibility, recognizing that there are so many obstructions to peace, but the pathway to peace is in each of our hearts. And so before I introduce Dr. Russell, I'd like to offer this prayer. It's written by a fellow named John Philip Newell. And Sam and I and Ruth were just talking because Dr. Newell had been the head of the Abbey at Iona in Scotland, where Sam and Ruth recently visited, and I was on sabbatical last year for a short period there. And so these are his words. So let us unite our hearts in prayer. To the home of peace, to the field of love, to the land where forgiveness and right relationship meet. We look, O Holy One, with longing for earth's children, with compassion for the creatures, with hearts breaking for the nations and people we love. Open us to visions we have never known. Strengthen us for self-givings we have never made. Delight us with a oneness we could never have imagined, that we may be truly born of you, makers of peace. Amen. And so it is my great joy to introduce Dr. Rob Russell.
Thank you, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon. My purpose is really up here right now is to introduce Alan Taylor and Kim Kronenberg, who are co-directors of the Sept project, Sept standing for Science Training Encouraging Peace. I've known Alan Taylor Dr. Taylor for 41 years. We just counted them. He has a triple professorship at Tufts University, where I am also, but I don't have a triple professorship. He has a professorship in nutrition, molecular and chemical biology, and ophthalmology. He's a superb scientist and a humanitarian, and a true visionary. Kim Kronenberg has served as Director of Communications for Chronic Diseases for the Department of Public Health in Massachusetts, and is an adjunct professor at Boston University and the Mass College of Pharmacy. So after I finish, which will be in about 1 minute, Alan and Kim will speak on the origins of the STEP program, how it came to being, how it works, the history of what's happened so far in its 10 to 12 years of its existence. You'll see some film clips, one from Voice of America, and we may have time for a second one, a short one, they are short. And then you will hear from Israeli, Jewish, and Palestinian participants speaking by Zoom on their experiences, and they will be introduced by Dr. Taylor. Following that, there'll be a question and answer session. And then after, there'll be some closing remarks by Rabbi Naomi. And then finally, there'll be some refreshments if you can stay downstairs in the Cove room. It's a very pretty room looking at Lobster Cove here. It's worth staying. A lot of sugar. So without further delay, I want to introduce Alan and Kim.
Can you hear me? Is this on? Can you hear in the back? No? Okay, good. Thanks. No, usually I stand up there, but Kim probably wants me to stay down here so I don't look too tall. But, so first of all, I want to thank Rob, of course, who's, as he mentioned, the director of research where I worked, and he was my boss for many years, and now he turned into a loyal friend. So that's really a beautiful relationship, and I'm really privileged to have had it. I want to thank Rev Sue and Rob Naomi and Ed Howe. All these people made these connections. You know, this has been percolating along for, as she said, 1.5 years, so it's a long time coming. I want to thank the Anasquam Village Church. This is probably one of the most beautiful places we've ever spoken. And Achavad Achim, the synagogue, for hosting us. And we'd like to welcome and thank our STEP colleagues who are on Zoom. Daniela Saf, I don't know if you can see her, but she's someplace near Jerusalem, staying up very late, and hopefully her children are asleep because it's 7 hours ahead there now. And Dr. Aya Awad, who's coming in from California. She's at Stanford, a postdoc at Stanford. She just finished her STEP program. And we'd also like to acknowledge Colby Russell, who's back there and is taking your names, and be sure we're all registered. And he's our outreach coordinator. And thank Rick for making the world a smaller place digitally. So this is only the second time we've spoken at a church. And the last time we spoke at a church, it was for a rock concert. And believe it or not, we were the halftime act. You would think it would be the reverse, that we would be speaking. They were the halftime act. But they were very moved, and I hope that we are equally able to move you as well. So as Rev Sue said, you know, we were supposed to have this meeting last summer before October 7th. But since then, there were, and there continue to be, a myriad of reasons to delay. But the situation is getting more dire and urgent by the week, and pivoting toward peace simply cannot wait. So So we invite you to join on this journey. This occasion is a chance for us all to make a difference. And I guess you'll do the introduction while I pull myself together.
I'm curious, how many people have traveled to Israel? Wow. How many people have been in the West Bank? Gaza? How many of you follow the news about the Middle East? Guess it's hard not to, right? And how many people feel despondent? So we're hoping today to give you a little bit of hope. There's a lot of reason to be despondent, and we're hoping to just raise that hope a little bit. So just to tell you what STEP is: Science, Training, Encouraging Peace. STEP is a nonprofit organization, and I'm losing my pages here. It's a not-for-profit organization. We're now celebrating our 10th anniversary. And STEP builds careers and fosters enduring relationships between Israeli and Palestinian graduate students. And the Palestinian graduate students are from the West Bank or Gaza. And it's important to recognize that STEP is a cross-border program because you make peace with your adversaries, not with your friends. So what STEP does is we fund the stipends and tuition for pairs of Palestinian and Israeli graduate students in the sciences, and they study together and work on a project together throughout the graduate degrees. So that's up to 4 years. We support fellows up to 4 years. And so with a STEP fellowship, they may get a PhD, an MD, or a master's degree. And they don't just sit in the same classroom. Usually if it's a lab program, they're side by side in the lab. I mean, they really work together intensively and deeply. We currently support 9 pairs of students at 18 students, and they're studying everything from cancer to malaria to retinal disease to infertility, genetic counseling, and much more, all subjects that cross borders and that affect everybody, no matter who you are or where you live. And so in STEP, there are no winners, there are no losers, only winners, and we're going to be telling you more about this in a few minutes.
What happened to this?
I did that. Yeah, before I go on, Alan just mentioned that we've been in touch with all our fellows constantly since October 7th. And we get a lot of letters, and they're very honest. And I just thought I'd read a short paragraph from one of our students that she sent probably sometime in November last year. And here's what she said. Dear Kim and Alan, I find that being a STEP fellow anchors me and reminds me of my humanity, of our similarities. It is so easy to be swept up in the fear and the hatred, and being a STEP fellow, along with the friendships I have made and the programming we've been part of, forms a constant angel on my shoulder, reminding me of what I am made of and what I believe in. It has been a true light in the darkness for me.
So, how did we begin STEP, and what's the model? So I was a graduate student. Other people might call me a lab rat, which is sort of the truth, because I lived in the lab. And you can imagine that if you're trying to bring people together, one of the ways to do it is like with Outward Bound Camp, right, to build resilience, and they have to overcome challenges together. So here I am, what we call now building mice, basically clone them and you make them express certain specific traits that you then want to study. So I've invested, say, 2 years into my mouse, and then I feed it for another couple of years, and then have to take off a weekend. So what happens during that weekend? 4 years of my life could go down the tubes if that mouse is not fed or not maintained. So I have to develop trust for somebody else in my lab, my neighboring graduate student. So to the extent to which I can develop that kind of trust, and we become very close friends, and if we work together for 3 or 4 years, we might even grow to love each other. And in fact, I might even call that person for consultation and advice throughout my whole career later on, because we've developed that kind of trusting and enduring relationship. And that's exactly what happened to me. Some of my best friends, and even my boss, became some of our best friends, and you learn to trust these people, and people you know that you can really rely on and get good counsel from them. So that's sort of the design of STEP. We thought, okay, we're going to put these two people together, let them overcome barriers together, advance their degrees, and let there be sort of a blossoming of benefit from that relationship. So that's the origin of STEP. And now we'll just talk a little bit about the administration, and then I'll go back and tell you about how STEP is really yielding.
So you see Alan and I up here, we're the co-directors, but there's actually a team behind STEP. So we're based in Boston, in Brookline actually, and we have a fabulous board of directors, not of all, they're all in the US. We have a steering committee that includes 2 Nobel laureates, university presidents, and experts like Rob in scientific research and educational development. Now, we also have some staff, and a part of our team is in Israel. On the ground in Israel, we have a regional coordinator. He's Palestinian, and he's a STEP alumnus. He was actually our first fellow. He's the president of what's called Diabetes Palestine. He's a nurse, and diabetes is his expertise. But for STEP, he's responsible for helping recruit students, especially Palestinian students who don't necessarily know the Israeli academic system, and he helps guide them through the system, helps them figure out what it is they want to do and where they want to study. He's assisted by representatives in the universities who also helps the students negotiate the bureaucracy. STEP has now funded in our 10 years about 52 fellows. So far, we've granted about 25 degrees. Now, there are some still in process because we fund them for 4 years. We work at all the major universities in Israel. So we're at Hebrew University, Tel Aviv University, Ben Gurion University. Our STEP fellows have really been successful. They've published in dozens of high-impact journals. They've given dozens of presentations globally. They've received all kinds of awards. I mean, you'll hear from 2 of them in just a minute, and they are leaders. And before we go further, I do want to introduce you to 2 of them via video. And this was the video that Rob mentioned earlier, The Voice of America. And Rick, if you could show that, that would be great.
I should point out, as he's queuing that up, that all the people on our board are pro bono, as of course are we. So the people are really committed and devoting a lot.
Spend just a few minutes with Manar and Nina, and it's clear that the 2 young scientists have a deep affection and respect for each other. Both geneticists, Manar is researching how mice become blind, and Nina is trying to find a cure for the blindness. They are fellows in STEP, an American NGO which funds pairs of promising young Israeli and Palestinian scientists to collaborate on their doctoral research. Manar, a Palestinian graduate student from East Jerusalem, says she was at first hesitant to join the program.
In the beginning, I was scared to get into STEP because I feared that it might be an indication of me normalizing with the Israeli situation or the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And then, when I saw how it made me become closer with Nina, how it really made me understand the other side, and how the other side also understood me. It made such a good effect on me.
Nina, an Israeli graduate student also at Hebrew University, says that before meeting Manar, she had never had a serious conversation with a Palestinian.
Working together, I think, has put me on my own personal journey. I think that because I see things through Manar's eyes more, I think it really has affected how I see politics here and how I see society. And I think that it's a really unique opportunity that I wish that every Israeli or Jewish person in this country could have.
STEP, which stands for Science Training Encouraging Peace, was founded by American scientist and academic Alan Taylor, together with his wife Kim Kronenberg. Taylor says that as a scientist himself, he learned that working together in the lab, often under stress, creates tight bonds. And he hopes the bonds being developed between Israeli and Palestinian STEP partners will influence the broader society.
Well, the long-term goals of STEP, and I wish they weren't so long-term, would be to train enough people who will enter influential positions and become societal influencers. And by that I mean they might influence their scientific community, their medical community, and hopefully society at large.
This goal is being pursued by Dan and Ahmed, another pair of STEP fellows. They help each other with Hebrew-Arabic translations for their doctoral projects in public health policy. Dan's research is on autism and Ahmed is studying diabetes. In addition, they collaborate in teaching courses to international students at Ben Gurion University and other joint projects.
We, for the past 2 years, have taught a class of international students about health across borders, discussing the Israeli-Palestinian healthcare system and how they work or doesn't work together.
They and other STEP partners hope their close collaborations can affect both scientific research and policy across borders. Linda Gradstein for VOA News, Jerusalem.
So now I'm just going to go back to why we tried to design STEP to be just a program where everybody wins. So who are the winners? Obviously, the students get tuition paid. They get a degree. They get a PhD or MD or master's degree, and they really become very well-respected influencers within their society from the perches at which they work. STEP changes hearts and minds. Many have told us, as we heard before, that they knew nothing of the life of the other, even though they live just a few miles from the other. When I say just a few miles from the other, we're talking about the distance from Annisquam to downtown Gloucester. That's how far these people live apart, and yet they're completely separate in their worlds. So this is a way to bring them together. This is what STEP is about. Through science, people get to know one another and see each other as human beings, colleagues, and friends. STEP beneficiaries continue with the faculties in the universities. Each pair of STEP fellows has a faculty advisor who oversees both their academic work and their relationship. And we get reports about that all the time. We're on the email probably almost every morning now or on video to Israel. The faculty are active in what we call the STEP family, which is comprised of the fellows, the STEP fellows, the faculty, and the alumni. And by the way, we have Israeli and Palestinian mentors who are part of the faculties in the universities. And the mentors tell us how much they have been changed by this experience. The families of the STEP fellows are also changed. The fellows go home and talk to their fellows, their families. They tell us how they've changed attitudes even within the families. The communities benefit because each STEP pair is required to do community service. And so the communities see that Israelis and Palestinians can work together. And together they can offer added value to the communities. For example, one STEP pair went with their mentor to teach at a high school in East Jerusalem. And the mentor, an Israeli Jew, came back, told us how inspired she was by this experience. They volunteer in a program for children with cerebral palsy. One of the ones who was in our house just Friday night, unfortunately couldn't be here. She was actually giving a talk at the Marine Biolabs in Woods Hole and passed through the house and said that she was preparing to do volunteer work in an orphanage. And of course they always engage their partners, so they go as partners with or without their mentor. And finally, STEP is training future leaders who will have had already built relationships. As I mentioned, that was the model, right? Built relationships with people who can guide productive relationships between Palestinians and Israelis and who can share the values of cooperation. So STEP alumni are already leaders in the corporate world, government, ministries, and academia. And just to cut the list very short, we have 2 Palestinians and an Israeli who are already professors, and they influence dozens of students every semester. One continues scientific and entrepreneurial collaborations on antibiotic designs with her Israeli counterparts, and she's now has a patent on that.
And you'll see the 2 of our leaders in just a few minutes.
Right. So in sum, fellows get higher education, departments and universities get the best students, and universities benefit from their output and prestige. Communities get more and better trained citizens, and importantly, the region is getting new leaders and influencers with more progressive vision for how to solve this intractable quagmire.
So the video is 3 minutes, so it'd
Do
be
we
great.
have time for one more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rick, can you play the video?
I'm Mona, and I was born and raised in East Jerusalem.
My name is Sarah. I am from Jerusalem, though originally I was born in Georgia, in Tbilisi. We are applying some of the principles that I use in my PhD on how Candida itself affects cells of the vaginal tract in women.
We are looking to find how cannabis would affect fungi.
There are many analyses that can more accurately characterize the relationship between the fungi and the human cells using the tools from image processing.
I know biology, I know microbiology. I would perform all of the biological experiments that you can think of. But when it comes to computers and computer analysis, I don't understand. I don't know how to do it.
Just the fact that you can share ideas and brainstorm together in the lab is enormously beneficial.
When I was raised up, I was somehow more reluctant of being friends with an Israeli, with someone away from my culture. But now I'm happy to get to know a person from a different culture, from a different perspective.
Our relationship is first and foremost a friendship before the working day-to-day research relationship. I love Muna as a friend. I respect her as a scientist.
We are similar people. We love to cry together, to be happy together, to share many adventures together. And I was happy to invite Sarah and my colleagues to my wedding, and we were a big whole family, and it was very beautiful. And in the end, we are all equal.
Kim made that video.
So now you have gotten to know a few of our fellows. You're going to be meeting 2 of our alumni in a minute. But a lot of people ask us, what does STEP do during this current crisis? How are you functioning? Have you adapted during the war? And I want you to know that our students are working side by side together every day. And they've had to adapt. It's been traumatic and difficult, but they are there in the lab. And they tell us that being in the lab is a lot more relaxing and safe than being outside in the world where it's much more stressful. We do have 2 Palestinian fellows who are unable to get permits to come to Israel, and so they work with their Israeli STEP partner via computer virtually, and they've been able to adapt their research projects so that they can do that. But we're working hard. Actually, we work with various administrations to enable them to get their permits to travel to Israel. That hasn't happened yet. So other things that we're doing during this time is that we've been in constant contact with our STEP fellows, our faculty, because it's a very emotional time and people want to know that we are there and we're being supportive, and we do that. And they do that for each other. Our faculty and the universities are reaching out in their own ways. And just to give you a couple of examples, we had one Palestinian student who knew that if she went back to the West Bank, she couldn't get a permit to return to Israel. So her STEP advisor found her housing in Israel. And where did she find her housing? An Israeli family opened their doors, and she went to live with that Israeli family. So you can see how complicated it gets and how open people can be. Also, some of the Palestinian women students who wear hijabs told us that they were fearful about traveling to campus because by getting on the bus, they thought they might be harassed. And so the faculty and the students arranged to pick them up, to pick them up from their homes every day and take them to and from campus. And those are just a few of the things that people are doing to accommodate the situation. A few months ago, we had a Zoom call, and we said to our students, so should we continue? I mean, given what's happening, should we continue? And they all begged us, please continue, because if you stop, if this program goes on hiatus, it would be capitulating to the dark forces and destructive forces of terror and evil. So we continue, and we're doing well.
Yeah, I think Kim spends almost all of her waking hours working on STEP, and I spend about half of mine. So people ask us, what does it cost? So just to give you a little perspective, if you have a graduate student in your lab here in, say, Tufts, where Rob and I work, it's now about $70,000 per person per year. And in Israel, it's about 12,500, so that's a considerable savings. So for a 4-year program, we support them for 4 years, right, that would be about $50,000 per person or $100,000 per pair, which is quite a bargain for a PhD compared to one person for 1 year in the US. But the good thing is that the universities match us 50%. So for every dollar we bring in, they contribute $1. So it costs us basically $12,500 per pair per year. And we would love to have you help join our campaign to raise those kind of money. And our aspiration is to train 100 pairs. Why 100 pairs? It's somewhat arbitrary, but it's a small community. The whole area is the size of Connecticut. And if we could get 10 real super leaders out of this group, they could change the whole society. So the return on the investment is enormous because each one of them is already an influencer. And I think with that, maybe we should send the baton to how about 2 real people?
2 influencers.
2 influencers.
I'm going to sit over here. So Danielle or Aya, do you want to begin?
Hi, everyone. My name is Aya Awad. I'm Palestinian and a STEP alumna. And right now I'm reaching out to you from Stanford. I became part of the STEP family in 2019, and my journey continued through my PhD until I graduated in 2021. Reflecting on that time, I can honestly say it was very transformative in so many ways. STEP was more than just a fellowship. It gave me a partner who became one of my closest friends, and her name is Noah. Before joining the STEP, Noah and we were in the same lab, but we were considered like lab partners. But joining the STEP made us come closer together by working on the same scientific project, which actually made us inseparable. And together we navigated not only our research and academic challenges, but also the personal ups and downs of lives. We celebrated each other's holidays, shared countless moments of joy, and supported each other during the difficult times. Those shared experiences, both in and out of the lab, made our bond unbreakable because we were also like talking every day after work, during the weekends. We were spending a lot of time together outside of work as well. And through the STEP, we have also achieved some of our proudest professional milestones, including publishing 2 papers together. But what I treasure just as much are the conversation we had with our families and friends about our work, our differences, our similarities, and how science can bridge political barriers. And we even managed to inspire some of our friends to join the STEP program as well. And now I'm continuing my journey as a postdoc at Stanford, focusing on cancer research and targeted therapies. And the skills and relationship I built through the STEP continues to shape my path forward. Just to say, STEP didn't just impact me, it reached my family, my community, and my vision on what's possible. Like, it showed me how similar people are if we just put the effort to talk to other people, share our thoughts, be honest to discuss even like the hard topics that some people try to avoid. And it has given me the tools to dream bigger and to believe that I can contribute not just to science, but also to a better future and humanity for everyone around me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you want, and Danielle, do you want to speak first, and then people could ask questions for both of you, okay?
So hi everyone, my name is Danielle. I live in Jerusalem. I was a STEP fellow in 2019 while I did my PhD at the Hebrew University. During my PhD, I studied bacterial interaction during biofilm formation, or in other words, in simple words, I learned about the social life of bacteria. In the last year of my PhD, I joined STEP together with Muna that you saw in the second video. She was my partner first before Sarah. And I remember that in the beginning, I thought that STEP aimed really high, and I couldn't understand how friendship in the lab and working together can impact and have quite a difference on people's life. But today I can understand that how wrong I was. Muna and I are still in a good relationship. She was one of the first calls that I made on October 7th because I knew that she shifted from East Jerusalem to the southern part of Israel. And I was worried because it was the first time that she experienced what the life in the south of Israel is are or is, I don't know. We are still in a good relationship. I'm proud to say that she's my friend. We are consulting each other on a personal life, and also still now after 5 years, after we finish the program, we are still consulting about the job. And if she has a job opportunity, she keeps calling and asking like, "What do you think?" And I'm telling her that I'm having my third child, and she's coming to visit. Every Ramadan, I'm getting sweets. And she's coming to light a candle with me on Hanukkah. And I think it's a big impact on my families because I was in a graduation of the PhD this year. And when they read her name, my kids said like, "Muna, we know Muna." And I laughed. And we saw her family, and I was in the wedding that you saw, and it was a very happy wedding. And today I'm a researcher at Volcani Center. I'm studying and working on a foodborne pathogen. And I know that these interactions and relationship with Muna is also affecting not only my family and their family, but also my colleagues in a distance time and life in Israel. I keep reminding people that I have Muna and she's one of my best friends, and people on the other side are also people, and to see the other side as well. And as Aya said, it's only to see that people are people and we are sharing the same dreams and hopes and hoping for better future here in Israel for both sides.
Thank you, Danielle. And do people have some questions?
Well, can I just add to one thing that Danielle said?
Stand up.
So Danielle, I wanted to tell them that, so Danielle went to Muna's PhD celebration the day before she gave birth to her baby. And so there's a picture of Danielle very pregnant, and the next day she gave birth to Amit, which is a derivation of the Hebrew word for friendship. So we can open the floor to questions for that to Aya, Danielle, or either of us.
Okay, so you can ask a question either to Aya, Danielle, or Kim and me.
I'd just like to ask how you choose your people to go to this? Do you do it in Palestine and in Israel? And the second part of what I would like to ask is, are you working with any of the families that have been, one of their family members has been killed in Israel by a Palestinian, in Palestine by an Israeli, and they've been getting together for many, many years working, and I wondered if they were working with you.
That's, so you want to answer the recruitment?
Yeah, in terms of the recruitment, we recruit people on the ground there. We have, in Israel, there is the usual flux of Jewish students coming into the university, as there are Israeli Palestinians and Arabs. But to get people from the West Bank and Gaza, we actually have an on-the-ground recruiter there. Ahmad, one of our first graduates, who is also the president of the Palestinian Diabetes Association and represents an Israeli NGO throughout the world, but he also recruits Palestinian students. And the students, now we've had enough people come through the program where they recommend each other. So that it's a small group of, small geographic area, so it's pretty effective.
But sometimes he'll work with students for 2 years before they're able to apply. And in terms of, I don't know if we're referring to the organization called Bereaved Parents. We know about them, and we're all part of the same umbrella organization called Alliance for Middle East Peace, but we don't work directly with them. We do have members of our own STEP family who have lost family members, and that's been tragic and difficult.
And just while the mic is going around, it's been recommended that we have a dialogue program as part of STEP. We're trying to make STEP sufficiently special that we will give the people like leadership training, entrepreneurship training, and somebody said dialogue training. And I think it's something we do have to consider. But our STEP fellows say that's what STEP is already. We talk to each other. We know how to get along, and we know how to raise difficult questions.
Hi. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and inviting us to learn from you. I am asking students, the gals, in terms of conversation, besides you come together and you're learning, but are you also learning to have those conversations? Like, are there intentional conversations in the program for you when you first come together to learn how to work together a little differently?
I think that's what Alan was referring to. We don't have an intentional program because our students keep telling us that conversation evolves over time, and because it's a 4-year program, sometimes they start and conversation is difficult, and it really develops. I don't know, Aya or Danielle, do you want to comment on the dialogue piece?
Aya, you want to speak? We can't hear you.
Okay, yeah, I was muted. Okay. Yeah, actually, good question. Like, I remember when I first started working with Noam, I think I was a bit like more close on myself. Like, I was afraid to express or like even like maybe discuss some critical questions or topics. But now I was like the whole time she was like telling me you have to be open, honest. Like, I'm your friend. Like, I will not be judgmental. Like, you can say anything to me. So actually, like, after that, I became like her. So like, I changed my personality. I became more open. We discussed everything. It's of course always like we don't agree on the same thing like 100%, but this is what makes our friendship even like stronger. So she changed me in that way. So I think when people really work together, they can influence each other. They really feel they trust each other more, so they can be open and they can discuss whatever is on their mind.
Maybe Danielle. Danielle, do you want to reply?
I was one of the STEP fellow that was against talking about the situation or politics at the beginning. I think that with time, like, you're getting into it. Like, I think October 7th, like 4 stars to talk about things. I remember that one time we went to all the old city in Jerusalem, and the one that gave us the tour guide told us about how they decided to divide Israel at the beginning, and they asked what do we think. And I remember that the Israeli part was saying like, yes, of course, we wanted to divide Israel. And the Palestinian part said like, no, it's like it was. And the people from India said like, we don't know. They were like in the UN. But we basically, it's something that is involving, like Aya said. Like we are not forced to talk about it, and it's a good thing. And when it's coming, when you are ready, then the talks are more personal, and you're getting to hear what the other one said. Like if someone will force us to talk about it, I'm not sure that we will be willing to hear it. So when you're working so close with each other for 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, then you're more open to hear the other side and what they think.
Any other questions? Ed? Oh, sorry, this one on the back.
Hello, and thank you to the speakers today and also to Danielle and Muna for being here. This is a general question, although these scientists might want to weigh in. My question is about what role the Arabic language plays in these partnerships, if any. I imagine a lot of the scientific discussion is happening in English, but in terms of more casual interactions, how does the communication take place, and is there any balance between Hebrew and Arabic?
I think we should let them answer the question. Danielle and Anaya, maybe you should answer the question. Can you hear it?
So actually, so this was one of my fears, I think, to join the Hebrew University, because I didn't know anything in Hebrew. Like I only know English and Arabic. So I was really hesitant to join the Hebrew University at first. And I was just thinking how people will judge me. But then when I joined the lab, and especially my PhD supervisor, he was really nice. He told me you don't have to learn Hebrew at this time, you will know by practice. And also Noah, when she first joined the lab, her English wasn't good at all. So I think there was a bit of small language barrier. But then we were talking the whole time in English, unfortunately. So her English got better. We never spoke in Arabic. I think it's really a minority of Israelis who know Arabic. I would say that most Palestinians can speak Hebrew. It also depends on which part you're born. So because I never got the chance to learn Hebrew, so I didn't know anything. So basically, I don't think that Arabic really has any, from my personal experience, I've never met any Israeli or Jewish person who can maybe go into conversations with you in Arabic. So basically, it was mainly in English for me, but other peers, they speak in Hebrew as well.
We also spoke in English. We are still talking in English. Mona learned a little bit of Hebrew, I think mostly to speak with my kids, which is easier because they can't understand English as well. I wish I knew Arabic better, but now in my kids' school, they have someone that speaks Arabic, and she's trying to teach them a little bit. But I have 10th grade, I know how to say Ismi Daniel, Kif Halak, Sabach el Khir.
So some of the pairs are teaching each other their language. But it's very personal.
Yeah, that's part of the bridge. Is some of them have asked each other to exchange language lessons.
And that's something we hope to add to our programming.
How do you actually make your matches? In other words, is it just based on the research, or do you have some kind of interview with each other to see if they're well suited?
We're
yes
professional
yes.
matchmakers. We could be in a play. We could be matchmakers. So it's required that a person have a match the day they get into the lab if they're going to be a step partner. So usually the mentors help make the match, or we fish around for somebody who's working on a comparable project, remembering that they have to be working on an associated project so that they have something, obstacles to overcome together. And so we make the match, or the mentors will make the match, or the laboratories or the departments usually help make a match.
And then, so they have to submit a proposal to STEP. So it's a scientific proposal and a proposal for how they're going to work together, what they're going to each share in the project. And then we interview them. I mean, when we visit Israel, we interview them in person. Lately, it's been by Zoom.
Zoom, but we meet every person.
Yeah,
You know, every
and it's
mentor,
pretty
every
rigorous.
person, every year.
Alan scrutinizes the science. So I don't know if you remember that, but
In the back, you have two. I'm sorry.
yeah, yeah.
Could you address the support or lack of support of your respective families and communities for what you're doing and the peace building or communication you're building with each other?
I think the question is to Danielle or Aya.
Yeah, actually, I can't say it's an easy thing because, everyone has like their personal experience and everyone might like have suffered at some point, both sides, either like from the occupation or the other side from like terrorist attacks. So I think it's not easy for everyone, but I would say that like my family really know she's my best friend. They know how much she helped me. I remember like when my father was making like, for example, like sweets for the holidays, he would also like include her share. So we talk about it. Like for example, also Manar, the one that you saw in the video, she's my friend. So she was also hesitant to join the STEP, but then she talked to me about the STEP, and I explained to her like how life-changing this experience is, and then she joined the STEP. So I can't say like it's an easy thing, but we could see an effect. Also on Noah's side, she invited me to her wedding, and also I met her family. So I would say it's a work in progress, but when people see like real life example, they are more willing to change.
For me, I think it was easier with my family, at least. My mother was born in Jerusalem, and she remembers the time when she was young and she went to the old city and she wasn't afraid, and everyone were like more getting along, at least in better days. I think it's harder when you are getting to like colleagues, and sometimes they are raised their eyebrow and they are talking about it. But I think people want change, and they are willing to accept that we need to do something. At least this.
Thank you.
I'm wondering how many of the Palestinian participants are from Gaza, and how many are from the West Bank, and how many are Israeli Palestinians.
So our entry requirements for the Palestinians that they be from either the West Bank or Gaza. So all of the Palestinians were either from the West Bank or Gaza. And we actually did have 2 or 3 from Gaza several years ago. At this point, we don't have any from Gaza. They're all from the West Bank.
What is the reaction from the governments of Israel and Palestine for your program?
We don't ask. We don't. No ask, don't tell.
All that to say is, at least a few years ago, we were meeting with representatives of the American Embassy in Israel, and they were very supportive.
That's the American Embassy, but we have not been searched yet.
And that was
coming across
during the whose regime? Obama. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. I just, I don't know if you were familiar with a film that came out quite a while ago called Disturbing the Peace?
Yeah.
No? Okay. But it sparked my brain when you said that this could change a whole society, I think you said earlier.
I'll stand by it.
Is that, okay, you answered my question.
I mean, you know, I'm not talking about tomorrow, but I think to the extent to which you even make education accessible to people whose life expectation didn't include getting out of the house or going into professional careers or becoming leadership people, I think you're really transforming society and giving a lot of other options.
And what we say is
Transforming, not necessarily healing.
Healing, hopefully we're healing as well, but you know, depends on the wound and how long it'll take, you know, and what your definition of who and how much we're responsible for. You know.
we say we lay the foundation for peace so that when the governments decide to create a program, that there are people on the ground who are ready, who know each other, who are ready to work together.
Okay. Oh, one more? Rob, you want one more? Sweet. We have to get the drinks too.
For the participants in the program, what outcome from each of you, what would you say was the most surprising and pleasant outcome?
People on the screen.
Yeah. So my most pleasant outcome is like having Noah as my best friend, honestly, because also during the PhD, it was like a stressful and hard time, you know, with all the work stress and life stress. So she really made it a pleasant experience. She also taught me a lot in the science part.
I agree with Aya. The relationship and the friendship is the best thing in the world.
I hope you were able to hear that. I think they've got a best friend. And I just to quote, I forget Manar, who's not here. And I was just in Seattle at an ophthalmology meetings a couple of months ago. And we had 2 step fellows presenting there, along with their mentor. And she wrote at the end of it, basically, that she wants to be the friend of her step partner. She wants her children to be the friend of her step partner. And she wants her grandchildren. So, So before we call this to a close, are we calling it to a close?
Do you want to do your summary?
Pardon? Oh, I was going to do my summary after the call it to a close. We'd like to give a shout out to Rob. What side do you take? Shout out to Rev, Sue. Ed, I won't make you stand up, but.
Oh, thank you.
And Rabbi, here's the Rabbi. Rabbi? Thank you so much, Rabbi. So, I'll just finish up by saying to conclude, STEP is unique in many respects, in case we haven't made that really clear to you. By the way, Danielle and Aya, thank you so much. You can go to sleep now. First of all, it's a cross-border organization, as he pointed out. The Palestinians come from either the West Bank or Gaza. The duration and intensity of the program distinguishes it from all others. The fellows work side by side, most frequently daily, for years. STEP builds trust, enduring professional and personal relationships, bridging the gap between Israelis and Palestinians while advancing science and building societal leaders. We see that this fosters a more peaceful, cooperative, and shared society built by influential Israeli and Palestinians who respect and can work cooperatively, respect each other and can work cooperatively. These are really people who make change happen. We'd be happy to have you join us on the journey of bridge building. We have envelopes to make that easy out in the front, where you can visit the website step-gtp.org. If you'd like to sponsor STEP Fellows financially, that would really add crucial momentum to the STEP effort. We're happy to update you on the situation on the ground and to give you presentations, to give presentations to your friends, your church, your synagogue, or any other organization. Always feel free to contact us. You have our contact information on the literature that's outside. And if you want to help STEP, like some writing articles, informing other people, having other events, as mentioned before, serve on committees, hosting parlor events, we'll be most grateful. This is really a very time-consuming effort. And again, thank Rob, Rev Sue, Rob Naomi, and Ed, and all of you for spending this afternoon learning about STEP. We really welcome you to the journey. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. I'm Naomi Gurt-Lind. I'm the new rabbi at Temple Ahavat Achim, and it's such a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity to offer a few remarks. In the Jewish calendar, we're very close to bringing in a new year. During this time of anticipation, it's traditional to study Psalm 27 on a daily basis in preparation. As many of you probably know, Psalm 27, like many of our Psalms, vacillates between confidence and despair. Threaded throughout is the search for hope and connection, and every now and then we see a glimmer of it. The psalmist says in verse 8, Lecha amar libi bakshu fanai, et panecha Adonai avakesh. The heart says to you, seek my face. Oh God, I do seek your face. Elsewhere in Scripture, from the first, we learn that humankind is created in the image of the divine. And so, when we seek one another's faces in true connection and solidarity, it is a way of seeking and finding divinity. That these young scientists, who may have been given the cultural message to hate, instead turn toward one another for productive fellowship is nothing short of miraculous. Through their collaboration and trust building, they show us another way to be. They show us the possibility of a more peaceful future for Israelis and Palestinians. And for that, I am profoundly grateful. Thanks to everybody who worked to create this event, to Rob Russell and Ed Howe, respectively, of the Anasquam Village Church and Temple Ahavat Achim, to Reverend Sue for hosting us in this beautiful setting, to Kim Kronenberg and Alan Taylor for founding the program, and most of all, to the courageous and dedicated students who do the daily work of seeking one another in friendship and learning. Thank you for being here and for the role that each and every one of you plays in the work of peace. Good afternoon.
How many of you have been here for a concert? So as you know, our church, besides having a presence in outreach, very active in climate action, we also are known for our music, and Kathleen Adams is here. It seems that it would be most appropriate for us together to sing. So in our hymnal, number 752, This is a piece that we often sing during the Advent and Christmas season, Dona nobis pacem, which is God give us peace. And we will sing it in Latin, in Hebrew, and in Arabic. Please stand. Thank you all. We hope you will support the work of STEP on your way downstairs to the Cove Room where we have a reception. We hope that you, if you can, maybe drop a little something in the basket. We would welcome your financial support. And you can reach the Cove Room either through the steps in the back of the church or through this door here. So thank you all for being here, and let's offer Alan and Kim a round of applause.